The views and opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Open Sky Radio. Please be advised.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to The Fire You Can't Put Out. With you as usual, my name is Melvin. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. Happy New Year to one and all. We are now inside of 2014, and this is episode 50, the first week of 2014. We are taping today on January 4th, and I've got a monster, mega amount of things to get to. Last week we had kind of a different show, and so there were a few stories that didn't make it to. I'm really going to try to make it to them today. So, quite honestly, without further delay, we're just going to go. Thank you for joining me. All right, let's make this happen. Charles and David Koch became a household name after the Supreme Court decided in favor of corporations essentially buying our elections with the Citizens United case. And since that time, obviously, more and more people have come to know who they are. And a story that happened back in 2008 is now finally coming to light. Of course, it's a little later than we all would have liked, but at least it's finally coming to light. And it is this. St. Petersburg Times writer Chris Hundley wrote an article in 2008 about an agreement between the Charles G. Koch Charitable Foundation and Florida State University for $1.5 million. Now, what does he get for his $1.5 million? Well, first of all, why is Charles and by the way, this is a delightful name. The Charles G. Koch Charitable Foundation. It sounds really noble. Majestic even. Yes. But remember, this guy's an oil billionaire. This one guy and him and his brother are both worth, I believe, 22 or 23 billion respectively. So giving $1.5 million to Florida State University really isn't a big deal. So what did he give them $1.5 million for? Dig this. Knowing that they can't solely rely on America's angry, gullible know-nothings in the Tea Party to change national direction, these ultra-conservative brothers knew that they needed a veneer of intellectual credibility. Okay, so they've given money to Florida State University so that they have veto power over some, not all, but some of the professors that Florida State University hires. More notably, what they really want is control over who teaches economics and finance over at Florida State University. Rachel Maddow made mention of this last week. Quote, Koch purchased hiring rights for the faculty at Florida State's economics department. And yes, Florida State has the word state in the name, because it is a public university, and yes, it is objectively insane that the state of Florida allowed that to happen, unquote. Okay? And a year after giving this money to Florida State University, Koch rejected 60% of the job candidates for FSU. Okay, quoting again from Maddow, $1.5 million is nothing to him. He loses that into a handkerchief every time he sneezes. But for that pittance, he gets to make sure his conservative billionaire economic ideas get taught and published and propagated under the brand of something that is supposed to look like a university-level education. The foundation has made sizable grants to a number of other colleges, though. Clemson University, George Mason University, Utah State University, and the University of West Virginia. 2014 is an election year. We are officially inside of an election year. Every single member of the House is up for election this year, as well as 1/3 of the Senate. And there's an article that's actually been on the front page of a lot of local papers here where I live and otherwise, talking about how much money has already been spent on the election, how ads are already starting to run, and why is that? Well, the billionaires. The billionaires are more and more, they're spending more and more on elections because it worked. It worked the last couple of elections around, okay? They spent tons and tons. They absolutely upside down and inside out outspent the Democrats, bar none. And for that, they got the House. More Democrats. The Democrats got more votes for the House of Representatives than did the Republicans. And yet, the Republicans control the House of Representatives by an overwhelming majority. Some of it's gerrymandering, but, a lot of it is just this money that's being spent. All these voter purges that are happening in all these states. It's all these things to kill democracy. It's the rich of, by, and for the wealthy right now. Now, obviously, being wealthy doesn't automatically make you evil, but it certainly doesn't seem to help. Take, for example, our country's largest private employer, Wal-Mart, has been busted forcing their employees to make contributions to Republican PACs. Okay? U.S. companies are forbidden from giving money directly to PACs. Okay? So they're taking advantage of federal rules allowing them to ask employees to do it for them in exchange for matching charitable donations. So it goes like this. They say, you give money to this charitable organization, and by the way, all these PACs that popped up, especially after Citizens United was decided, all these PACs, they're considered nonprofits. They're considered charitable organizations, even though a whole big chunk of them are funded almost solely by the Koch brothers themselves. Okay, they're PACs, they're considered nonprofit, and they say, hey, you give this money, and then we will give it back to you, to the employees, plus a little bit more. And of course, the employees are taking it, so they'll say 2 for 1. They say, for every $1 you give to this political action committee, and it's always a Republican political action committee, okay? Always hard right-wing funded. You give $1, and then we will give you 2. And of course, Walmart pays very, very low wages to their employees. So what employee isn't going to take this deal, okay? Recipients have included, and this comes to us from Jason Easley over at Politics USA, by the way. So recipients of this money have included Republican House Speaker John Boehner, Republican Ted Cruz, obviously. Let's see. And obviously there's a whole list of them, so we're not going to go through them all. But since the year 2000, 69% of Walmart's PAC money and the Walton family's political donations have gone directly to anti-gay, anti-government, pro-gun, pro-business conservatives like Cruz and Boehner. In response, the group Our Walmart released a statement from a Walmart employee, Barbara Gertz, quote, what Walmart workers really want is for the company to publicly commit to pay better wages and provide steady hours that let us support our families. Most of us cannot afford to pay for groceries or rent. So they say to their employees who are poor because they work at Walmart, and even though some of them work full time, and they say, we'll give you this money 2 for 1, okay, to these candidates, to these organizations that will funnel the money to these candidates, and then these candidates are going to go to Washington, D.C. and make sure that you don't get health care, your wages stay really low, and you're not any safer or better off. Will you do that? Well, they need the money for their families, so obviously they do it. Of the rich, by the rich, for the rich. But not everybody believes in supply-side economics. Not everybody subscribes to the Chicago Boys School of Economics. Let's take, for example, France, who got sick of being broke. Sick of austerity. France's new government, this comes to us from Jameson over at iAcknowledge.net. France's new government has pushed for a new tax rate for high-income earners that will start, you listening folks, at 75%. This week, France's Constitutional Council gave it the green light, okay? It's called the millionaire tax. They're not hiding this. A higher tax rate for the rich was a campaign issue for French President Francois Hollande after his election, and his administration has been fighting hard for the policy. The new law would levy taxes on those who earned wages above 1 million euros in 2013 and 2014. The tax, coupled with the extra taxes, would make the millionaire's tax rate around 75%. France has been struggling with budget deficits similar to we here in the United States, but unlike the U.S., has decided that instead of austerity, it would look towards higher revenue. Instead of cutting social programs and hurting the working class, the French government has looked toward the very wealthy. The French people seem to overwhelmingly approve of taxing the rich at higher amounts. Unsurprisingly, France's biggest companies, the richest ones, don't like the new policy. That's fine. Taxes expected to hit about 470 companies and about a dozen soccer clubs during the 2013 and 2014 years respectively, and is forecast to raise approximately 210 million or 325 million in American dollars. So, we've been hearing from the TeaBaggers and the like for a long, long time. We can't tax the rich. It will collapse our economy. It will absolutely ruin everything. Everybody will die and all the rest and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so, but what we know from history and economics is that's not what happens. So it's a 75% tax on earnings over $1 million a year. That's a fabulous idea. Because what happens? They say, well, it's a 75% tax if you make $1 million, so they're going to, what they're going to do is they're not going to pay themselves. These are companies that are being hit by this. They're not going to pay themselves more than $1 million so that the money doesn't get taxed. What they're going to do is they're going to try to keep that money inside their company. They're going to spend more money inside their company either on equipment or employers or expanding their business rather than taking all that, what was cheap money before, it's not cheap anymore, rather than taking that cheap money to themselves and then gambling with it on the stock market and tanking their economy, which is the thing that we're working really hard on trying to do here. We could do the same thing. We did do the same thing. There used to be a 91% top marginal tax rate on millionaires, and I think here we were much more forgiving. It was on earnings over $3 million. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pay attention to what's going to happen in France. So let me tell you what's going to happen in France. It's going to be just the economic beacon of the world, honestly. And there's no reason why it won't, because they say, here in America, give the money to the rich and they will give it back to us, right? So Charles and David Koch, who are fighting really, really hard for low taxes and all the rest, okay, Charles and David, both worth $22 billion apiece. Perhaps, if they just had $1 billion more dollars, then and only then would they be able to give you a job, because $22 billion, which is, think of $1 billion, which is 1,000 million, and think of $1 million, which is 1,000,000, it's not enough money to give you a job, obviously, because they have to pay you billions or whatever. It doesn't. Obviously, we're debunking right-wing economics here. But the debate in America still rolls on with the BS talking points that doesn't make any sense economically, historically. So, on a recent edition of the PBS NewsHour, Paul Ryan's economic advisor, Scott Wisnipp, was on there, waxing ecstatic about how great it would be if we went after the pension funds and retirements of working people. That's my wording, not his. But, quote, I've always really been impressed with Chairman Ryan, that's obviously Paul Ryan, Chairman Ryan's entitlement reform proposals, which I think are incredibly bold. He gushes, incredibly bold. Yes, going after poor people is incredibly bold. You can't do what the left wants to do and continue to think that tax increases on the rich are going to get you there. Okay? So, Robert Reich answered him. Cutting benefits to struggling families, Reich explained, is not just bad for those families, but also bad for the economy as well overall. Because remember, those unemployment benefits are going to the unemployed who will turn around and buy goods and services. When you give money to the wealthy, and by the way, they've got plenty of it. They really don't need more. But if you give money to the wealthy, what are they going to do? Think about giving $1 million to me, your friendly host, Melvin. Hello, give me $1 million. I am going to spend that. I don't know that I'll spend it all, but I might. Most people would. Think about Bill Gates, who's not an evil man, by the way. I'm just using him as an example. Give Bill Gates $1 million. Do you think he's going to run right out and just spend that like he's just been waiting for this $1 million check to come in the mail, this billionaire has? Of course he hasn't. And of course he's not. He's going to throw it on the pile. Unemployment benefits, welfare benefits, and of course paying higher wages, or living wages to working people, that money goes right back into the economy. And through the multiplier effect, that's what increases economies, not giving to the wealthy. So Robert Reich went on, obviously, okay, and he says that means that the economy will be less robust. Winship went on saying, there's no economic inequality. He says, quote, it's really been overstated. The middle class has not stagnated, unquote. Reich then argued that the further the individuals at the top of the income ladder pull away from the rest, are pulling away from the rest of the people who are trying to climb that ladder. The wealthy are taking rungs out of that ladder and then saying, hey, why can't you climb that ladder? Now, obviously, Robert Reich is a former labor secretary. I'm not sure whether you knew that or not. That's fine. I'm here to tell you. One more quote from Robert, Mr. Reich. One of the reasons we're seeing such a slow, anemic recovery, he continued, is because the vast middle class doesn't have the purchasing power to keep the economy going. With so much money, over 20% of the total income going to the top 1%. I've heard the numbers actually higher. Oh, back to the article. The vast middle class and the poor, they don't have enough money to buy to get the economy back on track. The economy is driven by demand. This is one of the most basic things. I remember learning this really young in school, actually. It's driven by demand. It's not driven by giving more money to people who already have a lot of money. It's driven by demand. And demand, that's us. As much as they try to tell us, the Tea Partiers and all the rest, the rich are the job creators. No, they're not. You, the person listening to this program, I'm guessing that you're not a billionaire. I don't know what my billionaire numbers look like, but I can't imagine that you are, no offense. But it's you and I, working class people. I imagine you're working class. This is a working class show. You and I are the job creators. When we spend money, that money has a multiplier effect. It goes into the economy. We put our money into American banks. We spend our money at American businesses. We spend it here in America. Whereas a lot of the wealthy, to avert tax laws, send it overseas, banks outside the United States, and then they use a lot of that money not here in America. You know, I mean, it's outside of America. It's not helpful to us, and they're not spending it here. They're throwing it on the pile by and large. Happy New Year to 13 states. Okay, there are 13 states. I believe we covered this last week, who will be getting raises in the new year, and that's fabulous, because things are going to begin getting better in those particular states. So let's go here. So speaking of the states, there's a conservative argument: the makers and the takers, right? So say the rich are the makers and you workers are the takers. And okay, once again, they're beating their chest. You probably couldn't hear that. That's what that sound is. Let's talk about red state socialism, though. There's a mega monster storm currently hitting the Northeast right now, by and large. It is just covering them in snow. And the socialist government workers that drive the plows are having to go around and plow the streets so that people can get around right now. And even though they're having a hard time keeping up with it, they're doing it. And that's your government at work. Okay? So everybody is a small government conservative until they need the government for something, which is pretty much everything. Okay, so right now it's the plows in the streets, okay, and the de-icing and all the rest. Red states generally have low taxes. And I hear the argument all the time, oh, move to Florida or whatever else, or Idaho, whatever, because the taxes are low out there. Yeah, and yet the way that they live doesn't seem to be exactly impoverished. So how are they pulling it off? Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call red state socialism. This is where they pay, they take more money in than they pay out, okay? As of mid-2012, okay, so we don't have the newest. I mean, these are the latest numbers, but we'll get new numbers for the year end. But we're going to take, for example, mid-2012 because it's the same every year essentially. There's just little bits of these numbers that change from here or there, but this is by and large the same. Okay, as of mid-2012, states that were receiving the most federal funding per tax dollar in the United States were New Mexico, West Virginia, Mississippi, D.C., Hawaii, Alabama, Alaska, Montana, South Carolina, and Maine, okay? So for every dollar, for example, that New Mexico paid out, they got $2.63 back. For every dollar that Mississippi paid out, they got $2.47 back. For every dollar that Alabama paid out, they got $2.03 back. So you see the way that goes, okay? So, and of this list I just read, 7 of the 10 states are conservative. Now, of course, D.C. gets federal money. I'm sure you just heard me say that. But they can't get state money because they are a city without a state. Okay? During the 2004 election, Bush won all 27 red states that received more money than they give back. Kerry won the 14 states that gave more money than they received. I'm killing this whole makers and takers thing. So in retrospect, the top 10 highest net contributors to the federal budget are the liberal states. These are the ones that give the most amount of money and don't get as much back. New Jersey, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Illinois, Nevada, Massachusetts, California, Colorado, and New York. To the red states, I hope you're enjoying your fabulous welfare program paid for by the liberal states. Obviously, I'm on a little bit of a tear right now. Let me mellow out for just a second, but I wanna continue talking about workers. Okay, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat McDonald's. Even when I wasn't a vegetarian, I still didn't eat McDonald's. Honestly, I can say this. This show doesn't have any sponsors. I hate McDonald's. So there's an audio recording over at BillMoyers.com of a woman who works full-time for McDonald's for 10 years, and she was calling the McResource's helpline, where a helpful operator encourages her to apply for food stamps and Medicaid for herself and her 2 children. In a society, people like Nancy face a significant degree of stigma for accepting public benefits, but the real welfare queens in this story are the McDonald's shareholders who pocket the difference between what the company pays and what their workers need to make ends meet. They use their lobbying power to oppose minimum wage hikes, but they haven't beaten back deep cuts to our social welfare system. So, this is the same as what's happening with the red state socialism. So the shareholders and the CEOs and the guys at the top over at McDonald's, we can't pay you more benefits, but then they take massive amounts of wealth home for themselves and for their shareholders. And then it's paid for by you and I, the taxpayer. So, what have we learned so far today? The red states, where they have low taxes, the state where I live in, where taxes are a little higher, we're paying for your red states. You and I are covering the wealthy in all the red. We're covering these states where they don't want to pay more taxes. They want the government services, but they don't want to pay the taxes. So, that's what you and I are paying for. What we're also paying for is for McDonald's and Wal-Mart, because they don't want to pay their employees a living wage, so they tell them, go get food stamps and go get Medicare or whatever else. And then they go to Congress and they just, and they say, we need to cut these social programs because this is the real problem in America. Okay, so according to a study released last week by the Labor Center at UC Berkeley, more than half, that's 52% of the families on the frontline fast food workers are enrolled in one or more public programs compared to 25% of the workforce as a whole. The cost of public assistance to families in the fast food industry is nearly $7 billion per year. Due to low earnings, fast food workers' families also receive an annual average of $1.04 billion in food stamp benefits and $1.91 billion in earned income tax credit payments. People working in fast food jobs are more likely to live in or near poverty. 1 in 5 families with a member holding a fast food job has an income below the poverty line, and 43% have an income 2 times the federal poverty level or less. Even full-time hours are not enough to keep these poor folks afloat. Of course, that you can find that audio recording over at BillMoyers.com. So, and I wanted to cover this last week. I'm going to do it this week because I just love this story. So, McDonald's, the McResource helpline website, has decided to tell their people that they need to not eat fast food. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard that correct, perhaps. You may or may not have heard about this story, and if you have not, you are about to right now. Oops! It seems to have happened again. The Employee Resources website is giving out odd advice to its workers. Quote, fast foods are quick, reasonably priced, and readily available alternatives to home cooking. While convenient and economical for a busy lifestyle, fast foods are typically high in calories, fat, saturated fat, sugar, and salt, and may put people at risk for becoming overweight. Reads one post on the site, which includes a picture of a hamburger and fries, 2 items that the fast food giant specializes in selling. Another post labels a meal with a cheeseburger and fries as the unhealthy choice. It's got the circle and the cross through it. Okay, and one with a submarine sandwich and salad as the healthier choice. That's right. Thumbs up. Noting that it is more of a challenge to eat healthy when visiting a fast food place. A separate post writes, it's hard to eat a healthy diet when you eat at fast food restaurants, often adding that large portions make it really easy to overeat. The site also tells them to limit how many fries they eat. I don't know who's running the McResource website over there, but you may remember last month the company detailed tipping advice for workers, many of whom make around minimum wage. It also listed pricey suggestions for tipping au pairs, personal fitness trainers, and pool cleaners. Here's how you tip your pool cleaner. The pool that you bought because you work at the McDonald's. I don't know who's running the website over there, but they've got a sense of humor. Although the McResource line is nominally a site for employees, it's really accessible by anybody. At its annual shareholder meeting in May, McDonald's CEO Don Thompson defending his company's food, saying that we don't sell junk food. Then they put this post up on the McResource site saying, don't eat our food because it's junk. McDonald's also saw a backlash after it advised employees to get out of holiday debt by returning unopened purchases after it published a budget guide that included no money for heat and a $20 a month stipend for health care. So the website, which we have all had a lot of fun with by this point, well, it's been shut down. Oh. CNN reported on Wednesday that the company shut down the McResources line, even though the site claimed that it was just working on upgrades. A combination of factors has led us to reevaluate, and we've directed the vendor to take down the website, the company said in a separate statement, between links to its irrelevant or outdated information along with outside groups taking elements out of context. You took it out of context when we showed a picture of our food with a circle around it and a slash through it telling you not to eat it. You took that out of context. Okay. Yeah, and also, well, I don't know if you remember this with me. They also told their employees on the McResource line to break up their food into smaller pieces so that they would get fuller faster. The welfare queens. So we're looking at the red state welfare queens. We're looking at the fast food industry and Wal-Mart welfare queens. These are your. It's not people on public assistance that are trying to survive and just trying to get help. And as much as nobody likes the welfare program, it does have a positive net effect on the economy. So we've got Walmart, We've got McDonald's and a lot of other fast food places. We've got the red states, welfare queens, the whole lot of them. Let's get to the banks. Welfare queens. Earlier this year, Bloomberg calculated that the top U.S. banks receive an $83 billion a year subsidy from the government. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you're actually paying for these rich... Gotta be, can't swear. Not gonna swear here. We're gonna keep this, we're gonna keep this up. Alright. In November, a New York Times analysis of Johnson Associates survey found that the top 8 banks set aside $91.44 billion for bonuses in 2013. So, the money that you're giving them is that and a little bit more isn't just going to wages. It's going to the money that's above and beyond wages. It's going to bonuses. And it's absurd. Given the subsidy that banks get, it's absurd. Think about all of the other ways that they have profited through criminal activities. This comes to us from the BecauseFinanceIsBoring.com blog. The fact that 10 million people were displaced from their homes during the foreclosure crisis, okay? What could banks do with that money instead? They could give those bonuses back to the people that they made homeless. But no, obviously, what we're doing is the rich don't have much, and the poor have too much. All right, away from that for a bit. All right, let's get into something else. So, GWOT, which is the global war on terror. Okay, in a poll of 67,806 respondents from 65 countries. Okay, it's a Win Gallup International poll. And it was asked by people across the world, over all continents, and it said, which country do you think is the greatest threat to peace today? You could probably guess who number one is, and it wasn't even close. 24% of the folks in this poll, and this is from all over the world, 24% of the folks that answered this poll said that the United States is the greatest threat to peace. And it wasn't even close with the rest of them. The next one, Pakistan. Pakistan was named also as a threat to peace, 8%. China was named as a threat to peace, 6%. Afghanistan was named as a threat to peace, 5%. And they just go down from there, with Russia at 2%, Syria at 2%, Japan at 4%, Iraq at 4%, Germany at 1%, Saudi Arabia at 1%, South Korea at 1%. The BBC explains that the U.S. was deemed a great threat by geopolitical allies as well as foes, including a significant portion in society. And what is it? Honestly, it's our military policy. It's our bases around the world. It's our shoot first and ask questions later policy. We who are, and it's not the fault of the men and women who sign up for the military. They're signing up to do a patriotic thing. They're signing up to do for their country. But all of the money that is made on the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about, all of that money, and then of course the American Empire Project around the world, we're not seen as we want to be, which is the protectors of freedom and all the rest of this. We are seen as the enemy. We are seen as the single biggest threat to peace because of our military policy. Take all of the military budgets for every country in the world that's not the United States, and the United States still spends more than that. People say, we need to get people off of welfare, right? We need to, and all this other stuff. We need to, get rid of Medicare and get rid of all these social safety nets. Get rid of them all. Pay people low wages and all the rest. Without mentioning, but over 60 and almost 70% of what we pay in taxes goes to defense. Over 60%. Seems to me we could cut a chunk of money out of that, not be seen as a threat to the world, pull back on the American Empire Project, which is gonna fail. Keep that money at home. Wait a minute, now I'm sounding like a protectionist. and a Nazi and all the rest of these things that they try to label folks that think, much like I do. So let's get to Benghazi. Yes, Benghazi. Okay, so I compiled all of the attacks. Well, I didn't. I got this from CNN.com, but I took the compilation, and I went through it, and I only put the ones in this list where people died during the attacks. Okay, January 22nd, 2002, in Calcutta, India. 5 people are, and this is all our consulates, our embassies, being attacked in all these, okay? And people were killed in all of them, okay? January 22nd, 2002, in Calcutta, India, 5 killed. June 13th, 2002, in Karachi, Pakistan, 10 killed. March 20th, 2002, U.S. Embassy in Lima, Peru, 9 killed. February 28th, 2003, U.S. Embassy in Islamabad, 2 killed. June 30th, 2004, U.S. Embassy in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, 2 killed. December 7th, 2004, U.S. compound at Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, 9 killed. March 2nd, 2006, U.S. consulate at Karachi, 4 killed. September 12th, 2006, embassy at Damascus, Syria, 1 killed, 3 injured. March 18th, 2008, U.S. Embassy at Yemen, 2 killed. July 9th, 2008, U.S. Consulate at Istanbul, Turkey, 16 killed. And September 17th, 2008, U.S. Embassy at Yemen, 19 killed, 6 injured. You know what you didn't hear during any of those attacks that were killing people left and right? Republican outrage. You know what you did hear when on September 11th, 2011, I think it was, when Benghazi was attacked, and 2012, and people, and 4 people died at Benghazi. Scandal! Outrage! The N-word being screamed at the president. And you can blame Groundswell for that. You've probably never heard of Groundswell before, and you're probably not supposed to. This comes to us from Justin Acuff over at youngprogressivevoices.com. Groundswell is a conservative behind-the-scenes organization that forms a coalition between prominent Republicans, right-wing media, and conservative activists to wage what they're calling a 30-front war against Obama and progressives, and has been revealed to have played a role in the hype and false scandalization of the Benghazi controversy. Ginny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice, is heard on a secret tape along with a bunch of other people. That's right. So what we're going to talk about is this tape, this audio tape that emerges, proving that that Groundswell was behind the Benghazi, and I'm holding up air quotes here, scandal. In the tape, Frank Gaffney of the Center for Security Policy and Jerry Boykin of the Family Research Council are revealed to have met with Boehner and Issa to discuss Benghazi. Quote, to expand the Benghazi investigation and make this scandal a top priority for congressional Republicans. That comes to us from Mother Jones. During the meeting, True the Vote. Now, you know True the Vote is the group that's going around America and trying to take away people's right to vote. Okay, True the Vote made a presentation about their plan to attack groups who are actively working to protect voting rights around the country, particularly after the Supreme Court gutted most of the protections. Codenamed Hydra, this is the True the Vote thing where they're, trying to stop people from voting or going after people who are trying to protect voting. Okay, True the Vote argues that the left is undermining voting rights and must be stopped by hook or crook. That comes to us from crooksandliars.com. They're saying it's the left's mission to extend early voting time and promote youth registration is undermining democracy and is a war on voting rights. Not the fact that they're trying to take away voting rights, that we are trying to help get people voting rights. Okay? The Supreme Court, Ginny Thomas, the wife of Clarence Thomas, is one of the people that's heard on the tape. Whenever the argument against an activist court is made, and by the way, his wife is not supposed to be getting involved in stuff like this, but she does. She takes money from TeaBagger groups all the time. Whenever they talk, the conservatives, about an activist court, it seems to me, Scalia, who's also involved in a lot of these right-wing groups, This seems to me to be activist. It seems to me that Thomas and Scalia specifically can't be nonpartisan. Especially when, as soon as they walk out of the Supreme Court building, they run right to these organizations to give speeches or money or whatever support that they need in order to turn the Constitution into a thing of wax to be molded in their right-wing image. Okay. Benghazi, 4 people killed. Groundswell says get together, turn it into a scandal. So what we learned last week after the New York Times did a study, they spent a year questioning people all around Syria, and they found out that the attack really was it was more or less random. They found out that Al-Qaeda, you can look this up on the New York Times website, Al-Qaeda was not involved. And it really was a group of fed-up locals that just came together and attacked. So, of course, that's not going to bother Darrell Issa at all. Darrell Issa is going to continue to say that Obama did it and all the rest and, blah, blah, blah. Because they want to kneecap Hillary, because they think she's going to run for president in 2016, and then they'll kneecap Obama on anything they can try to get him on. So they're trying to make a big deal out of this. But all those times, and by the way, all of those embassy and consulate attacks I just read to you a minute ago, all happened during Bush's 2 terms, okay? Which doesn't mean Bush did them, but what these groups are trying to say, like Groundswell's trying to say, is because it happened on Obama's watch, he must have had something to do with it. But when these attacks, and I remember some of these attacks happening during the Bush administration, when these were happening, there were no hearings, there were no questions, there was no outrage. And all those ones I read you, there were 3 or 4 other attacks that didn't even make this list, and I didn't put them on there because there were no deaths during those attacks. There were that many more attacks. We've had this one. And as unfortunate as it is that 4 people died, the president had nothing to do with it. Hillary Clinton had nothing to do with it. It is not a scandal, and nobody turned a blind eye to it. Over. All right. So now that we're into 2013, Obamacare is starting to look pretty healthy. I hadn't talked about Obamacare for a while because as much as I like the program, the numbers weren't really coming up like I wanted them to. But what seemed impossible, this comes to us from Mother Jones, what seemed impossible in October suddenly became a lot more plausible in late December, so just last week. The weekend new enrollment data showed that approximately 2 million Americans signed up for private health insurance plans since the start of open enrollment. Health policy experts now see a way to get to their goal of 7 million, although it is by no means a guarantee. October and November were essentially lost months, said Larry Levitt, Senior Vice President at the Kaiser Family Foundation. December is the first month where we're getting an indication of how things are working. It's starting to track what people, particularly the CBO, projected originally, if the whole website thing hadn't got messed up. It was a really impressive December, says Dan Mendelsohn, president of the health research firm Avalier Health. The fact that we have about 2 million enrolled is not that far off from the original CBO prediction of 3.3 million. From Reuters, healthcare.gov covers 36 states and another 14 states have their own websites. The number is a dramatic improvement from a month ago when barely 150,000 people had signed up because of website problems with healthcare.gov. I saw some other numbers. I can't remember where I'll have to dig them up, obviously. But it showed that 9 million people are now covered because of Obamacare. Some of those come from the Medicare expansion. Some of those come from the rules that don't allow people to be kicked off due to rescission, or the kids that get to stay on their parents' plan. And then some of them, of course, are the people that are buying health care from the exchanges. So 9 million more people now have health care because of Obamacare, because of the ACA. And in this election year, the Republicans are rubbing their grimy little hands together. They can't wait to take your health care. So hopefully they lose. I was looking at another poll that made me very, very unhappy, and it showed in generic terms, generic Republican versus generic Democrat. The Republicans are polling better right now. This is the year of Obamacare, obviously. And just no different than the 2012 election, the Democrats are going to be judged on how that goes, because that's their plan. No Republicans voted for it. And 9 million people now covered, now with health care, whose lives are going to be saved, whose diseases are going to be helped, and they are there. That kind of thing is what's going to turn people out to the polls in favor of the Democrats. So, let's get to the less than helpful. I was thinking about almost making this a weekly thing on the show, because so often the argument is made about how guns protect and guns save lives, and of course we tend to see the exact opposite. So in this segment, let's talk about some of those responsible gun owners. On December 26th, 2013, an unidentified man was checking out at Home Depot in Brighton, Michigan. When reaching into his wallet, he accidentally grabbed his gun instead. The gun went off in his pocket, and the man shot himself in the butt. As it turns out, the man had a permit, and the loaded gun in his pocket was perfectly legal. Since no one else was injured and no damage was done to the store, police say they won't be pressing charges. Let's go to Nevada. A man, again, shot himself in the butt after accidentally dropping his loaded gun in a movie theater. The gun landed under his seat, sending the bullet upward, up into his rear end. More and more responsible gun owners. For instance, a man in Arizona thought taking a 3-year-old daughter out target shooting was a good idea. Okay, any story that starts out that way is not going to end well. He left the loaded rifle where the toddler could pick it up and shoot him in the butt. He was lucky the kid didn't kill him or accidentally kill or harm himself. Then there was the responsible gun owner who left a loaded weapon lying around on a hunting trip. The man was shot in the butt by his hunting dog. Last year, a Wal-Mart shopper in Waco, Texas, accidentally mistook his gun for a wallet, also just like the Home Depot guy. The 52-year-old shopper shot himself in the butt too. What is it with these guys shooting themselves in the derriere? During that incident, however, the bullet went through the butt of the responsible gun owner, ricocheted off the floor, hitting a woman and her 5-year-old daughter, sending both of them to the hospital. Responsible gun owners. More tragically now. Sorry, I bring the mood down just a bit. Responsible gun owner. A 14-year-old Colorado girl was shot and killed by her stepfather early Monday morning after he mistook her for a burglar when entering the house. Once again, and this is one of the cases I've made against such lax gun laws and such lax attitudes towards guns, is you're making permanent decisions in a flash. I'm sure this man feels like absolute dog crap. But his first response, he's a very scared little man, was to grab his gun and just fire. And now this 14-year-old girl is dead. KOAA-TV reported the police found the girl in the basement having suffered a gunshot wound to the chest, and she later died at a local hospital. Colorado Springs Gazette reported that the shooting took place around 6 a.m. Monday. Police were initially called to the house to respond to a burglary attempt. The Associated Press reported that authorities are determining whether the stepfather acted recklessly because of the state's, these things are all so macho, stand your ground. In this state, they have the Make My Day law, which allows homeowners the right to shoot and kill an intruder in self-defense inside their homes if they feel the other person is there to commit a crime and use physical force against themselves. Originally known as the Homeowner Protection Act, the law's nickname, obviously, is a reference to the Clint Eastwood oft-quoted line, "Go ahead and make my day," from the movie Sudden Impact. No arrests were made at the time of the incident, and the names of the victim and stepfather were not released, while police and prosecutors continue their respective investigations. So let's get to somebody who realizes, or at least his company may realize, that guns don't always save lives, and they may not be the safest thing everywhere. You may have heard about this, especially on right-wing blogs. Country music star Toby Keith's new restaurant in Woodbridge, Virginia, has outraged some Virginia gun rights advocates by posting a "No Guns Permitted" sign on the front door, according to Fox 5, a Fox 5 TV station. This comes to us from the Huffington Post, written by Shandi Ashtari. The gun-friendly state permits citizens to openly carry firearms into restaurants and bars, but state laws offer no legal guidance on drinking while openly carrying a gun. Drinking while carrying a concealed weapon is prohibited. So, according to Fox, the no guns policy at the New Virginia location drew the ire of local gun advocates who announced their dissatisfaction with Keith and his venture on the restaurant's Facebook page. One user wrote, "The sign on the door means that I will never try your restaurant. It is a cultural thing among we as Americans. It is the fact that you seek to restrict a constitutional right that bothers the public, and this will cost you," unquote. Another user commented, quote, "I am now ashamed to say that I was ever a fan of yours, Toby. You are truly a hypocrite," unquote. Well, I think it's a good idea, customer Jane Marconi told Fox. Anywhere there's an establishment that serves alcohol, I'm going to tell you right now, alcohol can make you do funny things. So that no gun sign absolutely makes me feel more comfortable. So it's not an attack on America, and it's not an attack on freedom. It is that he wants his establishment to feel safe. He doesn't want people looking around at heaters and wondering when, one of those responsible gun owners is going to do something responsible, like have too many and pull it, or someone else pulls it, or a fight turns into a murder. Maybe he wants his restaurant to be actually safe, because as the case that I've made, and as the case that my good friend Kevin has made, a room without a gun is always a safer room. So, 2014 politics, a little bit of that, and then the atheists that saved Christmas. Ted Cruz was born in Alberta, and he said that he was unaware of his dual nationality until the Dallas Morning News reported the issue in August. Obviously, it's going to be a big thing for the Tea Partiers. Well, it was for Obama because he's black. They think there's no way he was born in America, but I digress. So Ted Cruz, and so with the whole birther thing, we can't trust Obama, wasn't born in America. Ted Cruz wasn't born in America either, but they want this guy to be president. So, since then, he said in a recent interview, quote, "I have retained counsel and I am preparing the paperwork to renounce the citizenship." He expects to complete the process in 2014. That the time frame jives with the predictions from the Canadian legal experts. He doesn't dispute holding dual citizenship. Just a quick background. When Cruz was born, his parents were living in the Canadian oil patch in Calgary. His mother is a native-born American. His father, a Cuban emigre who later became a naturalized American, was still a Cuban citizen. Under U.S. law, a child born with even one American parent is automatically entitled to citizenship, even if the birth takes place outside the country. Canada, like the United States, also confers automatic citizenship to anyone born on its soil, regardless of the parents' nationalities. So he's renouncing his citizenship for pretty obvious reasons, because he's got presidential aspirations. He wants to run for president. That's become pretty clear. And he's going so far as to renounce his Canadian citizenship, which I'm sure they're happy with. So we'll keep you posted on how that goes. And if you want my opinion, and obviously you're listening to the show here, so you obviously want some of my opinion about some of this stuff, he's not going to be president. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. He's not going to be president. David Duke. This comes to us from addictinginfo.org. A former GOP member of Louisiana State's House of Representatives has been kicked out of Italy for what their officials call an attempt to establish an organization aiming to exterminate the black and Jew races in Europe. Oh boy. Okay. Now, I don't know if you ever heard of David Duke. He's got a long history of this kind of thing. His journey, this from the article, to the LA State House began when he formed the White Youth Alliance, which is a neo-Nazi group, while he was a student at Louisiana State University. He later went on, with his college degree in hand, to found the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan group in 1974. Duke later left the Klan and went on to form the National Association for the Advancement of White People, the NAAWP. Then in 1989, there was a special election for the seat in District 89 of the LA House of Representatives. By now, Duke had already founded several white supremacist groups, yet the LA GOP still felt that he was the best man for the job. What's even more sad is the fact that Duke sold literature promoting denial of the Holocaust during his time in office. Denying the Holocaust is a crime in lots of other countries. Duke was kicked out of Switzerland in 2009 due to his furthering of white supremacist propaganda, and after being banned from all countries in the Schengen, he crept back into Italy under a fake name in 2011. Duke's attorney said that he is aware of where his client is at the moment, but he claims that he's also no longer in Italy. So why am I talking about David Duke getting kicked out of Italy for wanting to exterminate blacks and Jews? Because David Duke is a Tea Party darling. I went on a TeaBagger Facebook page today because I just wanted to see how many posts, in one strip, what do they call them, one feed, how many posts I could get through before I found someone who used the N-word. I made it through 10 comments before I found the first N-word. But remember, they're not racist. They just hate his policies. So Duke is a Tea Party darling. They love this guy. They love this guy. They love the anti-gay Putin. The shirtless anti-gay Putin. Duke could well end up as president, since it's been reported that he has been urged by thousands of activists within the Tea Party to take a run at the presidency. He even released a video speaking directly to Tea Party members about the discrimination that white people have gone through. Of course, let's not forget, there is no racial undertone in the Tea Party. So another dirtbag. We're not going to talk about this dirtbag too much, but I want to get into this a little bit. A video, and a lot of you may have seen and heard about this already, but I just want to make this a matter of public record here on TFYCPO. Video has surfaced of Phil Robertson giving a speech in 2009 at the Sportsman Ministry in Georgia, where he suggests that men should target 15 to 16-year-old girls for marriage because they're basically over the hill at 20. Quote, "Look, you wait till they get about 20 years old, and there's only picking that's going to take place is in your pocket. You got to marry these girls when they're about 15 or 16, and they'll pick your ducks." So he went off about the Bible and said that gays are the same as people who do bestiality, and they're the same as pedophiles. And oh yes, Phil Robertson himself married his wife when he was 20 and she was 16. The Tea Party really does know how to pick them. All right, so I know Christmas is over, but I found these stories. Okay, the heartwarming story, and then the not so heartwarming, and then I just wanted to put a nice little bow on this show, a nice little ribbon on this show, and then leave you to the rest of your day. Okay, Tiffany Waite, that's her name. Her husband and their 7-month-old child sought help from Bible Baptist Church on Christmas morning. This comes to us, written by Stephen Foster. They waited in line in an effort to get toys for their little boy so that they wouldn't, so that he could have a Christmas like other children. But the toy shop charity refused to help them because Waite wouldn't let the volunteers hold her son. As Waite told the Chickasha News, quote, "I am poor and would not be able to celebrate Christmas this year without their charity. I went there last year and it was a lifesaver. This year, however, I was treated shockingly bad. I stood there fighting back tears and asked, you would turn a baby away at Christmas?" Waite told her story on social media, and then when it seemed as if all hope had been lost that their Christmas would be canceled this year, Atheists saved the day. Oklahoma atheists learned of the family's plight and promptly came to the rescue. Quote, "We've had several people donate things and send their money through PayPal organization," Director Red McCall said. "Her Christmas was ruined. The big message here is Tiffany was discriminated against, and if someone needs help, we're going to help them. It doesn't matter what their beliefs are." Quote, "The Christians turned my baby and I away, and a group of atheists showed us compassion, kindness, and charity," Waite said. "They brought us toys, dinner, gift cards, donated money, and really saved our holiday." Kim Haynes, pastor of Bible Baptist, said he intends to investigate the incident. So, let's move on to the magical John Hagee. In a sermon on Sunday, Texas megachurch pastor John Hagee advised atheists and humanists to take your Walkman and stuff it in your ears or just leave the country if they don't like hearing Merry Christmas or carols like Joy to the World, according to a video of Hagee's speech hosted on Right Wing Watch. Quote, "Planes are leaving every hour on the hour. Get on one," Hagee added, speaking from his Cornerstone Church in San Antonio. Sunday's sermon was not the first time the televangelist suggested non-believers leave the country. In a June 2012 sermon, Hagee, who is also the CEO of Global Evangelism Television, told the atheist watching this telecast that this country was not built for atheists nor by atheists. It was built by Christian people who believed in the Word of God. Okay, couple of things. First of all, he wants you to take your Walkman and stuff it in your ears. Okay, Walkmans don't even exist anymore. I know that's a small, you don't want to hear Merry Christmas. Okay, nobody has a problem hearing Merry Christmas. The war on Christmas is not real. Planes are leaving every hour. Go, just get on one. Just leave the country. Okay, because the country was not built by atheists. Well, actually, he's kind of right. It was built by deists. And actually, it was built by humanists. And look, this guy, he's not expressing anything new. Obviously, this kind of thought really grows on trees with a lot of the conservative right, and honestly, with a lot of Christians. Look, the story about the atheist family that helped the family, they saved their Christmas. I have maintained for some time that that morality precedes religion. It doesn't happen because of it. You do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, because you want to do the right thing, not because you think it will get you something into heaven or more money or any of the rest. And of course, this idea that's being pushed that if you are not just an outright Christian or whatever, that you don't have a place in America. The idea of America is freedom of or from religion. And I do good. I do good. And I do good things for people, not because I think it's going to get me into heaven. I do good things for people because I want to help people. And at some point, I may also get help. I can't tell you how many message boards I have visited, atheist message boards, and saw Christians getting on those message boards and trolling and saying things like, well, you don't believe in God, then what's stopping you from doing bad? And I'm paraphrasing here, not a direct quote. If I didn't believe in God, then I would be killing everybody in sight and doing every drug that there was. So, if you're not killing everybody around you and not doing every drug in the world, and the reason is because you want to get into heaven, it's not a reflection on your religion or any of it. It's a reflection on you. That is a really dumb reason to not kill everybody. You shouldn't kill everybody because it's wrong to kill people. Not because the Bible said so, but because it simply is. Ladies and gentlemen, I am under no illusions. I say, and I make jokes about it all the time, I say, I'm going to hell, right? Because I don't believe the nutbaggy things that a lot of these church leaders and Tea Party groups and American conservatives believe. I say, that's fine, I'm going to hell. Because I'm going to be in great company, but honestly, obviously, I don't believe in hell. If I don't believe in God, then I don't believe in the devil either. If I don't believe in heaven, then I most certainly don't believe in hell. With that said, I'm going to hell. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me for another wild woolly episode of The Fire You Can't Put Out. Happy New Year. Happy 2014. Thank you for sticking with me for so long. I'm not entirely sure when this show is going to get out because we're doing we're moving some things around over at Open Sky Radio, but whether you hear this show in a couple of weeks or whether you hear this show next week, I just appreciate all the support that I've gotten over all this time. All of you folks that download this and listen to it and all the rest, I thank you. Thank you from the bottom of this old atheist heart. We are the fire you can't put out, and we will prevail. Let's go out there and get them, ladies and gentlemen. Good day.